Hey everybody, it's Miss Thomas here, and we are here in the last lesson of Unit 1. So today we're going to be talking about universal design, and this is something that we definitely want to keep in mind when we are creating things, when we are inventing and innovating different things. Universal design is great. Like for example, if you think of ways to access a building, then traditionally in most buildings you have like stairs. But what about people who are in wheelchairs? They need a way to access a building also. So keeping in line with universal design, then you can make modifications such as a ramp that people can use. And that way it is accessible to everyone. So there's two terms that I wanted to throw in the mix. This is not part of the curriculum, but just wanted to make you aware of them. There's equality and there's equity. Let me see if I can pull up the picture just so that you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. But there's a difference between being equal and equitable. Quality versus equity. All right, so there's a great picture that goes around that I'm about to show y'all right now. I'm going to share my screen with you. Screen share, screen share. Here we go. All right, so I don't know who originally came up with this, but this is a great picture. We've been talking about it a lot in the different Voxer groups I'm in. But you see on the left, you have equality. So you have these kids at a baseball game, and you have this big kid standing on a box, the medium kid standing on a box. They can see, but what about this little kid? He can't see. So this is equality. Everyone has the same box. But when you look at equity, then what that means is that that everyone is now able to see because they redistributed the wealth. So the tall kid can see, he doesn't need a box. Then the medium kid, he can see a little better because he has his box. And the little kid gets two boxes so that he can see. So there's a difference between equality and equity. And this picture has been going around quite a bit in the educational community. So I just figured that it really related to our lesson today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time. We're going to talk about universal design right now. So let me click on that, share, bam, just like that. All right, so when you talk about universal design, and there are some principles to keep in mind. The first one is that we have equitable use. So remember how we were saying before the difference between equality and equity? So equitable use. So the design is useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities. So again, going back to accessing the building, then you want to make sure that you have not only stairs, but a ramp so that everyone is able to get into the building, okay? Second one is flexibility in use. So this goes down to different preferences and ability levels for individuals. So you want to make sure that you provide choice and you can adapt to the user's pace. And it's funny because reading these slides that the county provided, it makes me think a lot about education and the discussion that we had about do we prefer traditional learning or do we prefer blended? And looking at the results of your surveys, I saw that you all seem to prefer the blended one because it lets you go with your own pace for one thing, and it also gave you a different choice. We always have well, not the blended, but I try to give you a choice in the way that you demonstrate your learning. So that's an example of universal design. All right, here's another one: simple and intuitive use. So meaning that you make it as simple as possible so that you can reach the widest possible spectrum of people. So I don't know if y'all have seen different movies and stuff where you start hearing people speaking on their ideas and they use all kinds of words like, oh yes, I'm so verbose in the spectrum of the whatever. And a lot of times it might go over some people's heads. So that is not universal design. Universal design would be if I were to give a speech using universal design, then I would make my language so that my audience could understand it. So I would be able to target the largest part of my audience. Okay, perceptible information. So pretty much what that means is that you use different senses to get your information across. If you are designing something with universal design, then you can integrate as many senses as you can. For example, you could utilize vision, you could utilize hearing. Let me give you an example. On websites, when you go to websites, a lot of time for people who are blind or have visual difficulties, then there might be screen readers. You might see this on your iPad, for example, where it'll read the screen to you. If you go under the accessibility menu, there's an option So definitely you use as many ways to get the information across as possible. Okay. Next, tolerance for error. So that means, pretty much in a nutshell, this means that you can, if someone misuses it, then you're just minimizing the effects of accidental misuse. Okay. Like you might see, if for example, all of the reverse engineering examples that we looked at where people were like dropping the phone from like a huge height, and they've made the screen stronger in some cases to withstand falls. So so that is part of universal design. Okay, low physical effort is principle 6, meaning that it's not super duper hard to get it to work. An example that comes to mind might be a can opener. You know, the ones that you can you can just put it on the device and then press a button and it'll open the can for you. That's an example of universal design. Here's another one: size and space for approach and use. So you're just really making sure that the product or the innovation is acceptable for people of all shapes, sizes, ability levels, etc. Remember when we saw the video with the little girl playing with the iPad? So that iPad was not so huge that she would not be able to navigate it. So it was definitely designed to have, so that the maximum amount of people could use it. All right. So here, just wanted to note with you that there are all types of considerations that you need when you talk about universal design. They have here in bold: economic, engineering, cultural, gender, environmental. So you want to definitely keep these as well as other things in mind when you are creating something, when you are innovating something. Then you want to make sure that it is accessible to the maximum number of people. So there's all kinds of things that can take place into that. Okay, so here is your design challenge. What you are going to do is identify an element of universal design. You're saying anything because I don't want to, I want you to use your own example and not mine. Then you are going to design a poster that outlines the elements to meet the 7 universal design principles. So let's take a look at this right here. Let me see if I can get this a little bigger. Okay. So we have the principles of universal design here. I'm going to share this presentation with you, by the way. But equitable use, flexibility in use, simple and intuitive use, perceptible information. Oops. Whoops. Ah, no. Okay. This thing obviously is not liking me very much this morning. That is okay. Let me see. There we go. Perceptible information, tolerance for error, low physical effort. You see this door handle right here? This is a perfect example. And size and space for approach and use. So you're going to think of something that meets those criteria in the school. I'm actually going to let you do it outside of the school too, if you so choose. Okay. So here's your rubric. So it's going to be out of 100. So your universal design element counts for 75% of it. So you're going to identify an element that was appropriate and you considered more than one specific group, and say why the element is considered good design. Okay. And layout, you want to make sure that your poster looks nice. You want to make sure that you don't have any spelling or grammar errors. You want to definitely cite any sources that you use. Okay. Because if you don't cite your sources, then that's going to be an automatic no. See, look at these people. They cited their source. Let me show you. You see that? They cited their source, as should you. So that is it in a nutshell. So it's Ms. Thomas. I'm signing off. I will see y'all in class. Bye.